All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe. And it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to everyone Janiva Magness. Hello, Janiva.
Hi, John. How's it going?
It's going. It's great. And by the way, thank you for being a great host last week at the IBC Keeping the Blues Alive Awards.
I was so honored to do that when I got asked. And, Art went on the cruise. And so I was grateful that I was able to step up,
How did they
step
how
up.
did they choose you to do that? They must have a whole host of people that could do it. Why? What happened that you were able to do it?
Well, I was planning on being in Memphis already for to support the Blues Foundation. I do that as often as I can, and to serve as a judge. I normally I just call them up and I go, look, I'm going to be there. Um, whatever you need me to do, I'll show up. And just make sure that I have long sleeve rubber gloves and a scrub brush. I'll do whatever you need. you know, because I feel very strongly about supporting the Blues Foundation, and I also feel very beholden. I feel very, they've helped me a lot. They've given me a lot over the course of my career, and um, I don't take that lightly.
You did a fabulous job, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
It went
Thanks.
quick. It was very quick. You were very
Yeah.
fast at getting people up and back and
Cool.
um, commenting on some of the acceptance speeches. And I had a long one. It wasn't too long, but it was long enough.
Yeah,
Talking
you
about
were great.
the show and why I do the show and why it's been on for so long and giving back. That was the big thing for me, is giving back to the musicians, giving back to everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's volunteer what I do, and I've been doing it for so long that it's FM radio and it's become worldwide, and I've taken it to new levels, basically, so I can support you people who are out there every day working hard to make a living. It's not easy. This business is not easy.
Yeah. I know. It's seems to have become even more challenging if
Yeah,
that's even possible, but
add
apparently it
COVID,
is.
add COVID to that.
I just came through COVID. By the way, I came back from Memphis with COVID.
You're kidding me.
Uh,
Really?
nah, thank you very much. And I got fortunate to get through to my doctor and get the meds. So I took the meds and it really kicked it down, and that was great. And now my husband has it. So, it's the gift that keeps giving, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. But, um, back to the KBAs, and congratulations to you again,
Thank you.
because, and like I said, as one of the things that weighs heavily on me is that this is more than congratulate, WULM and John I'm not going to say your last name
Guregian,
right.
John
Gurgi,
Guregian. Yep,
Gurgian. Thank you.
yep,
It's so embarrassing. John Guregian for, the 2023, it's like this is a lifetime achievement award.
yep.
You're not the flavor of the month or the year. It's lifetime. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's a really big deal,
It is.
you know.
And I did get to thank Bruce Iglar, who nominated me, who was there. You know what
Okay.
his response was? You deserve it, but you should be talking to your rep who gave me your name and all the info about you. I was like, how's that?
Who's that? Right?
Yeah. Oh, I know who it is.
Okay.
He's my radio rep that I talk to all the time and do interviews.
Okay.
He sets up my interviews, but he was the one that told Bruce about me.
Okay.
And then I did an interview like this with Bruce on his 50th anniversary back in 2021.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a couple years ago, right?
Yep. And right after that interview, he came back to me and said, I want to submit your name based on everything I know about you. So there you go.
Well done, Bruce.
Yeah. So let's talk about Janiva Magness.
Okay.
Where'd you
What
grow
do you
up?
want to know?
Where'd you grow up?
We moved a lot when I was a kid. I'm originally from the Detroit area. My father was a patrolman, police officer. He was a cop for the first 15 years. We lived in Detroit. And my husband's letting the waterman in.
That's all right.
And water delivery, life continues. And we moved around. He was a patrolman for 15 years, and then we moved around a lot because my mom made him quit that job. She's like, yeah, no, Bill, you're not leaving me a widow. That job is way too dangerous. He was walking a beat downtown Detroit, first
Yep.
precinct.
Yeah, that's not good.
And
That's not
well,
good.
even back, right, it's not, but even back then it was the salad days, but still, you're a target as a police officer, you're a target. And so, Nebraska, from Detroit to Omaha, Nebraska, to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, to St. Louis. And then I went when my mom passed, which was literally 53 years ago today.
Oh, sorry to
Um,
hear that.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been without her longer than I was with her, which is a little strange. But when we're given the grace to still be here, and that's how I see it, it's our point of view changes, our perspective changes. So um, then I went back to Detroit, lived with my grandma for a while. So, typical nomadic,
Life.
typical nomad
So, so
kind
where
of
did
upbringing.
music
Yeah.
come in to all of this?
Well, music was always there. My father was a had a beautiful voice and loved to sing along with his records, and he loved to play his records really loud. And he had a bunch of stuff. He had some what I think of as real country music: Hank Williams, Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, Patsy Cline. And then he had a bunch of Nat King Cole records because he loved Nat King Cole. And then he had some blues records like Bull Moose Jackson. He actually had a 78 Bull Moose Jackson 78. And Bull Moose's big hit was that record called My Big 10-Inch, which is classic of the blues double entendre kind of
Yep.
stuff, right?
Yep.
So I was exposed in that way. And then being a child of the 50s and the 60s, then was exposed to what we referred to the English invasion.
British
So
invasion. Yeah.
British invasion. So the
Yep.
Beatles and the Stones, both of whom were heavily influenced by blues. And I got exposed to live blues at a young age. 13. I was 13, just barely gonna turn 14 when I got exposed to Otis Rush live the first time. And that same year, I would also bear witness to B.B. King. So 13, 14-year-old girl seeing that stuff, hearing that stuff, having that kind of and that stuff is, and this, John, so visceral.
Yep.
It was so powerful that it completely took me hostage. That was it, man. That was it. I chased that experience, and it was the best exposure. Was I underage with a fake ID in a club? Yeah.
Yes.
Do I recommend that? No.
No.
Do I suggest to parents and grandparents and great grandparents that they expose their children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren to live music, especially in my case,
Yes.
live blues or live folk?
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
What turned out to be this thing that just grabbed me and took me turned into a passion, which ultimately turned into a career path. And I was the last one to see it coming.
Wow. So do you play an instrument? I know you sang, but do you play an instrument?
I played percussion for a while, and then I wrecked my hands. So now I have arthritis, and I can't do that anymore. I played piano for a while, but not well enough to really do it publicly, just to soothe my own soul, and a little bit of cigar box guitar. I played rubboard for a while, and there's a lot of that out on the internet of me playing my special New Orleans rubboard. I'm looking at it; it's hanging on the wall across from me in my office here, and that's it. Mostly straight up sing. That's my instrument.
Tell me about the Mojo Maddox. I was reading about them in your bio.
Yeah, the Mojo Maddox was a band that I had in Phoenix. I was kicking around Phoenix from about 1980 to 1986. I lived there. And the Mojo Maddox was the third band that I had while I was in Phoenix. 3 of 4 bands during that period of time. And the Mojo Maddox did really well. It was a great band. It was a great band. It was a really fun name, you know, that was given to us as an idea by my dear friend Paul Cantrell, who was a music writer for the local New Times, the music and arts journal there in Phoenix. And I was talking to him on the phone, and I was thinking, we were talking back and forth, and I said, we should call it Mojo something, da 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 da. And he goes, why don't you call it Mojo Maddox? And I went, bing.
There it
done.
is. There it is.
And that band did really well. Ultimately, we got Band of the Year. And there was a pretty hearty, pretty strong blues scene in the Phoenix area in the 80s. There was a lot of work.
And then shortly after that, a few years later, you decided to go solo, 91. Or was it before that?
Yes. Well, it was a little bit before that. I was still stumbling and bumbling quite a bit. That's how I think of it, and so I left Phoenix and moved back to LA in 86 and was out here kicking around a little bit. I'd also been doing a lot of duo work while I was in Phoenix, which allowed, that platform allowed me to do a lot more country blues and some folk music. And so I did that as well. But yeah, I moved to LA in 86/early 87 and relocated out here, which is where I still am, and started to go into the recording studio. And I recorded a live album that's actually called More Than Live. And there's 2 studio tracks and then a bunch of live performance stuff on it.
And it's original, right? Your original, some of your original music?
On that record, no.
No,
that was all covers. I mean, I'm talking, Memphis Minnie kind of material, Ida Cox, that kind of stuff.
Great stuff.
Oh, great stuff. Great material. There were 2 original songs that I did not pen. One is a song written by Rory Block back in the day. I'm sure you are familiar with her, or maybe you even know her.
Yeah.
Called Got to Have You Be My Man. It's a beautiful song she wrote. And then there was another tune that was originally written by Quentin Clouch. And then I first heard it off of an old Ry Cooder record called That's the Way Love Turned Out for Me. And so we recorded those 2 studio tracks and then a live performance of a club in the LA area. And I had some friends at the record plant, the world famous record plant in Hollywood. And they decided they liked me. So they, and one of the guys in my band had worked for years at the record plant. And so the record plant said, yeah, we're going to send our trucks out. So they parked 2 live recording trucks back in the alley behind the club and ran the lines and mic'd everything up. And we literally recorded live to 24 track, which was unheard of in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just, who did that? The Stones did that. But, little old Janiva Magness. Anyway, it was a huge gift from the universe and from Rose at the record plant. And we did it. And that turned into be the first album, basically, More Than Lives.
And that's on Fathead Records, your record label, right?
Yeah, I put that out on my own label. I put it out at the time. The state of the art was cassette. So I actually have 2 cassettes, but I re-released that on a CD in 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, cool. And then after that, so that was the first album. The next album was one called It Takes One to Know One.
No one, yep.
Right. With my now ex-husband, Jeff Termes. And that was all original songs.
And he's a musician too, Jeff is, right?
Brilliant musician. Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that. He's on a lot of records. I see his name on a lot of records.
I know. He's a very prolific writer. And, now he's a painter. And I don't mean house painter. And a brilliant artist and multi-instrumentalist. He's one of those guys that you kind of just, I shake my head, I scratch my head, I look at him, because if he's holding an instrument for more than 15 or 20 minutes, he's going to play it.
There you go.
Banjo, balalaika, bass clarinet, whatever.
Multi-instrumentalist, as they call him.
That's right. Yeah.
So then you went to Blues Leaf Records after that.
Correct.
What made you move to a different label?
From my own thing to somebody else's? They made an offer
that you couldn't refuse, right?
Well, I could have refused it, but I didn't want to at the time. I thought it would be a great idea, and it was at the time, to be with the label and have somebody else committed to handling the promotion and committed to, financing
and all that.
Distribution, all that, which I didn't know very much about at the time. I know a lot more now. But at the time, I really knew very, very, very little about that. So I was happy to have, literally Jeff Termes and I were doing a duo gig at a Cajun restaurant out here. And we were playing in the bar in a Cajun restaurant. And up walks this guy, and he was obviously from the East Coast. And he wanted to know if I could talk to him after the gig. And he basically asked if I wanted to put a record out on his label. Not basically, that's exactly what he did.
Yep.
I'll give you a record deal. And Jeff and I were like gobstopped. It was great. So did 3 albums for Blues Leaf.
And then Northern Blues you went to.
Yep. And then Northern Blues stepped in, a Canadian label, and a producer by the name of Colin Linden, who's a great player and a great guy. Yeah. And so Colin and I did 2 records for Northern Blues. We did Bury Him at the Crossroads, which was the title track, and an original song. And then we did Do I Move You?
And you won an award for those. Producer award, right?
Yeah. Also won Producers of the Year from the Maple Blues Awards in Canada on one of those albums. And I need to get a hold of them and ask them to send me a little plaque or something I can stick back there,
I can see the other ones that you won back behind you.
Yeah, there's a few back there. That's like, wow. Yeah, so 2 albums for Northern Blues. And then also I that was the first year during the release cycle of Do I Move You that I won a Blues Music Award.
The first one, right?
And yes, I should look at the desk. This is the problem, is that when you're given the grace to be around and be in this business long enough and your hair goes from black to white, you kind of lose count of stuff, and my memories, my gears are
My
slipping.
count is you have 7 right now, right?
There's 7. There's 7 of these bad boys back there. Here's one. Oh, this one's for 2013. This one's for I Won't Cry. That was the song of the year that year for the Blues Music Awards. Yeah, there's 7 of them. I've got a total of 31 nominations, which is mind-boggling to me.
And 1 Grammy, I read. 1
Grammy nominated.
nomination.
Yeah, that was in 2016 that Grammy nomination came through. And again, nobody was more shocked than I was. I about fell off my chair. That's a good thing, though. It's really good.
It was a
really
great album. That was a great album.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
Thanks.
Northern, you won as a producer the Maple Blues Award. And then right after that, we're going to ask you a question I've been wanting to ask you since I talked to Bruce Iglauer. Bruce Iglauer came into the picture after that. How did that come about?
I was literally backstage from the Blues Music Awards, standing back there with a piece of hardware in my hand in shock. And I was sort of laughing and crying all at the same time. And he ran up to me and he said, "We need to talk." Because I had just won Best Contemporary Female Artist of the Year. And I'd literally been sitting in the audience waiting to hear the people that were presenting that award. I was waiting for them to call Shamika's name. Shamika had been winning it for several consecutive years, and rightly so. And I've been called a lot of things over the course of my career. And some of them have been true. Okay. But being a person that expects to win and being a person that expects accolades, that's not who I am. And it'll never be who I am.
You can just tell. You can tell from the way you talk about yourself.
Thank you. But I just don't, I think it's, besides that, it's safer closer to the ground. It's safer down there. But so I didn't expect it. So I literally didn't hear it. And I actually wrote about it in my book. I didn't hear when they called my name, and the winner is Miss Janiva Magness. And I was just sitting at Roger Neighbor's table. And it was like a slow-mo sort of like one of those kind of moments. And I look over and he's yelling at me, "Get up, you won." And I still didn't hear.
You didn't know, right? You thought it was going somewhere else, and it just kind of went right by you, right?
It literally went by me. And then finally he sort of like your brother slugged you, he slugged me in the arm, and he goes, and
"Get
that
up."
sort of jolted me. And he goes, "Get up, you won, get up there." And I was stunned, really stunned. And then I stood up and I started to walk up the stairs, and I fell.
Wow.
Just like Lucy Ricardo, I fell over. And the crowd gasped, "Oh!" And I got up and probably made the most bumbling acceptance speech ever. And
well, that's expected. You were expecting it to go somewhere else. You weren't even ready to make a speech, but it just kind of blindsided you, which is a good thing.
I think so. I think it's better. I think it's I think it's good to want. In Buddhist principle, Buddhists will tell us that all pain is a result of desire. Now, okay, fine, I get that, and we're in the human condition. And of course, did I like want to win? I couldn't even wrap my head around that. It was like, well, yeah, but I mean, that's not going to happen, and that's okay. I know how to lose. I know how to lose. And so that moment for me was one in a series of challenges and lessons in learning how to win. And I know that that might sound weird to some listeners out there, but it's not. It's not. It's not
Once
weird at
once
all.
you want
Learning.
once you learn to win the first time, you learn how to do it in a second, third, and fourth, and all the way to the seventh time that you've had.
Yeah, and who knows, the boats are still out this year, so I mean, you know,
You could
I'm
win
up for two
again
more.
this year.
It could happen. I doubt that it's going to happen. I don't expect it. Do I try? Yes, of course I try. Of course I try now, you know. Um I'd like to be I'm a bit of an OG at this point. That's how I see it, you know. And that doesn't mean old goat, by the way, for the listeners
Yeah,
out there.
I
It
know what it
means
means.
it means original gangster, and
Gangster.
I'm alive. Yeah, I'm alive and
Well,
here, uh,
well, some of the
and
things that you talked about earlier about spending time in Memphis and the Blues Foundation, they all know you now, and they
yeah.
know that you've won the 7 times, and that kind of helps too with visibility to everyone.
Oh, it's completely once the Blues Foundation decided to embrace me, it totally changed the trajectory of my career. It completely changed it because, and I never participated in the international blues competition as an artist. I never went to Memphis for anything. I was too busy. I was working, I was gigging, I was on tour. I was making money. I was handling all my own booking. I was doing all my own stuff. It just I was doing what had to be done, And so the when I showed up to the Blues Foundation to attend to the IBCs the first time and to help and to attend the KBA, which I had bought a ticket for on the behest of my dear friend Bob Margolin. He said, "You need to be here." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Just will you trust me? You need to be here." And I was like, "Okay, Bob, I don't trust a lot of people, but you I trust." So I got a hotel room, I got a flight, and I bought a ticket for KBA. And I began to meet people and I began to put faces to the names. And once the Blues
Connections.
Foundation, yeah, once
Connections.
they decided that I was uh, a good thing, really, really turned my career.
Yeah, because they're supporting your career now. Before they didn't really
Extremely,
know.
you know,
And
yeah,
you were visible. That was the whole reason why Bob said that. He wanted you to be visible there because one, you're visible to the new artists that are coming in competing. You're
right,
visible to the foundation at the same time, and they're also seeing who you are as a
yeah,
person
yeah,
to them.
yeah,
I mean, look at
yeah.
all the people I won with the KBAs, all the great people that
I
won.
know, I know.
I mean, photographer. There was two juke joint owners there. I mean, Jim Pugh. I almost fell over when I saw Jim Pugh was there getting an award with me.
Yeah, it's, that was so great. It was really, really great.
Another great musician who's played on everybody's records, played with Robert Cray and everybody else.
Played with Etta.
Etta, I mean, you name it, and he's got
Yep,
a record label. I didn't realize that he had that record label, and that's what he was gonna was winning on for
yep,
supporting this music
yep,
with the record
yep.
label.
Little Village Foundation, and he's doing a remarkable thing. He's doing a
Yeah,
remarkable thing, and he's really making it happen for artists that you know um, for various reasons just wouldn't be making records because they can't because who can afford to do that and getting their music out there and getting wider recognition where they uh, very likely wouldn't
yeah.
through the course of their career, their whole career.
So let's go back to
Yeah.
Alligator. We didn't finish that part of it.
Yeah.
Tell me about Bruce. After you got your award, Bruce came over to you.
Yeah, he ran up and he's like, "We need to talk." And I was like, okay." I literally said, "Well, I really have to pee, so let me go do that." And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. We'll just, here's my number. I want you to call me." And I was like, "Okay." So I had submitted myself as an artist to Iglauer over the course of the years several times. I have all the rejection letters, I still have them. And
Were you laughing when he came up to you after all those rejection letters, going, "Well, maybe I made it this time"?
I wasn't laughing, but I was smiling,
Yeah.
and I was in shock, but I was smiling. I was like, "Great, okay." I mean, I literally, uh which answers the whole thing with like why I didn't hear my name getting called in the first place, is that, like I said, at that point in my life, I really knew how to lose, and I didn't expect anything else. And good news or winning or joy or love or beauty or any of those things entered my mind. If it entered my mind at all, it would enter my mind through the tiniest cocktail straw you could possibly suck any air through. One of those drink stirrer things, they're actually a straw.
Yep. Yep.
That's how slowly it would go in. So I had a really hard time. When I say learning how to win, I ain't kidding. I had a really hard time taking that in and not going, this isn't happening. No, 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 no. So it was a beautiful challenge for me. So yeah, Bruce and I ended up talking, and he said, "I think you need to come to Alligator, and, I'm going to send you an offer for a record deal." And I said, "Okay, send away." And then I found a lawyer because I knew that much. And we negotiated a deal. And I did 3 albums for Alligator over the course of 6 years.
Yeah, I know all three of them. I play them all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And then 2014 was a big year for you.
Yeah. So I had another record.
All
My
originals,
producer,
right? Was that?
yeah. My producer and I were working on songs, and I said to Bruce, do you want to hear any of this? Because I was done with my contractual obligation at that point with Alligator. So it's a question of re-upping. And he goes, "Yeah, send me some stuff." So we recorded well enough to send a few things to him, and he hated it. He didn't like it at all. And that for me was a relief, honestly, because it was clear to me that I needed to move on as an artist from that relationship. As good as it had been for my career to be an Alligator artist, and they have like, top notch team in house, all of it. As good as that had been for me, I was really feeling like I needed to push the envelope a bit more. And that was the last thing that Bruce was interested in or willing to do. So, yeah, all original songs, and sent him some of it. And he was like, "Yeah, no, this isn't coming out on Alligator." And that gave me uh, that fracture, if you want to think of it that way, you know,
It
that
opened
kind
a
of a
new
cut.
door for you, is what it did.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was like, fine, I guess we'll go back to my own label. Let's just go back to Fathead. And my producer said, "Sounds like a great idea." And crowdfunding at the time was pretty new. And we started to do some crowdfunding and offered a premium item as motivation for people, put together a team, because by then I knew what needed to be done to put my own record out. And you basically build a team for your own label. You hire a publicist, you hire somebody to work the radio, you know, you do everything that a label does. Only you do it, you know, it's DIY. And
But you had seen it all these years at the different labels, how they went about doing it. So you did it
or
yourself,
not doing it.
or not
Right,
doing it, right?
exactly. Or not doing it. I saw where the holes were. I saw where the weakness was. And the fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter what label I am or am not with. Nobody's going to work as hard for me as I'm going to work for me.
Exactly.
Period. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
And so, knowing that and knowing that I'm, you know, 100% workaholic, you know, I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. And it went really, really, really original was the name of that album. And it did very well. Radio and sales, Billboard charts, radio charts. It did really, really well. People really embraced it. My fans really, really loved it.
I wanted to ask you about 2009, the B.B. King Entertainer Award that you won. And it was, he gave it to you, him and Bonnie Raitt, right?
I know.
What was that like?
This is the part where you make me cry, John. I don't think, hang on. I'm sorry.
It's all right. That must have been a full circle moment for you.
It was so surreal. I felt like I was visiting the 70s again. You know what I mean? It was so surreal. You know, I'd seen B.B. King at like just barely 14 years old. I saw him open a show for Quicksilver Messenger Service. Remember that band?
Yep.
And you know, and stole the show from the British rock stars, just snatched it right out from underneath them. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And B was wearing that orange and black plaid suit. You know, the one.
Yep, I do.
And he had the most beautiful natural, you know, what we used to call the natural, also called the afro. It was so beautiful, nice and really well, you know, several inches long. It was gorgeous. And he just took it right out from underneath him. And it was so beautiful. And so when he called my name,
you didn't hear it.
I did hear it this time. I heard it this time. And I just I got up to the stage and I became that 14-year-old kid. I was completely, you know, taken aback. And I mean, I know that it happened. It was very surreal for me. So I was that little girl and that woman all together during that whole thing in that moment. And I remember that you know, he gave me a kiss on the cheek, and I was just standing there grinning like a baboon. I didn't know what to say. And I was holding both his hands. And I said, could I have some sugar? To him. And he said, well, I already gave you some. And I said, well, can I have some more? And he thought that was pretty funny. So he kissed me on the other cheek and asked me where my man was. And, you know, it was incredible. It was an incredible moment for me. It was really, really deep for me. It's
and
still,
I get a high honor, one of the highest honors you can get.
It is, as far as I'm concerned, it is the highest honor that one can get from a global organization whose entire mission is the preservation and the continuation of this great American music. That's the Blues Foundation's trip, man. That's their job, and they do it around the world. And so to be given that by B.B. King with Bonnie as the trophy girl, I can't even.
You can't beat that.
I saw Bonnie too. First time I saw Bonnie, I was 14 years old. I used to see her at this place called the Caboose in Minneapolis.
And you were the second to get that, right? I thought you were
only the second woman to receive the B.B. King Entertainer of the Year. Now there's a third. Now Shamika has one, but at the time I was the second woman The first woman being Coco Taylor,
Wow. Wow.
and
That's great
it's just
company to
heavy,
be
man.
in.
It's beautiful company to be in, you know.
And then the Grammy nomination came later.
Yeah, 2016, I got nominated for a Grammy, and
You want to talk a little
that
bit about
was,
that?
yeah, that was really stunning for me. Once again, same old story. Certainly didn't expect that, and
Get used to it. Because it's been happening to you all these years. You
I
never
don't
know.
know. Excuse me. I'm not sure that I'll ever really get used to it, but that's okay. It's I never thought, and that's another thing. Like nobody will ever take that away. I'm a Grammy nominated artist. Period. And my now current husband and I married somebody who's English, and we were going to England. I was going to meet my in-laws, and we were landing on the plane. It was in December, early December, and we were landing at Heathrow. And I just turned my phone on for a hot second, and it just blew up with all these voicemails and all these text messages. A bunch were from my then manager, and he was yelling congratulations into the voicemail, and it was pretty shocking. And
Wow.
I was real happy about that. I was real happy about that.
2013, you were nominated in 5 categories for the Blues Music Awards.
Yeah,
Were you surprised that you were in 5 categories and not 1 or 2?
completely. Like, I don't know what to do with that much good news, kind of a thing. Like, wait, restart. Hang on. Um, I don't mean to sound like it doesn't.
You're humble. That's what it is.
I just, I guess, yeah. Humility is the safer place for me, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
And
Yeah.
you get surprised if you're humble about it. You're surprised when it happens, actually.
It's a happy surprise. It's
Yeah.
and one of the things that I say to myself privately is it's really good to be wrong. It's really good to be wrong. You're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to be anyone. Nobody cares about your music. Blah, 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 that sort of inner dialogue that is not my friend
Yep.
sort of stuff that a lot of artists have. Uh, you know, um, it's good to be wrong.
Let's talk about Weeds Like Us, your
Okay.
memoir that you wrote. Was it 3 years ago you wrote it?
Published in 2019. There she is.
4 years almost.
Yeah, almost 4 years. And that took 6 years to write and a lifetime to make. um,
I'd love to read it. I
I
haven't
will
had a
send it to
chance.
you.
Okay.
No. I have actually now there's a physical paperback right there. And then there's an ebook, which goes right into anybody's e-reader. And there's an audiobook. So you tell me what you want and I'll shoot it over to you.
Audiobook.
It's
How's that?
oh, that's great. That's me. It's me narrating. I'm reading to you. And you know, here's what I know. It's 267 pages. It took 6 years to write it, and some of the names are changed, mostly to protect myself. And you know, the first half, I am told, is a hard read because of the content. Um,
You had a
the
challenging life growing up.
Yeah, well, a lot of us do. Okay, it's not everyone's story. This is my story, but there are a lot of us out there that have um, a lot of challenges in life, and um, there's a what my therapist refers to as an unusually high body count. It happens, man. It happens in life for some of us. But I know this much. I know that the reason for writing it is the same reason that I ever began to sing. It's the same reason. It's an identical reason, and that is for connection. It's about human connection. That's what the job is. And, you know, singing, if I do my job right, singing gives us that. It gives us a connection.
Yeah.
You know, writing the truth of my history, what I've come through, and come out the other side helps to create a connection for those other individuals that have had the hard time.
And your new
Or
record.
maybe,
Go ahead.
oh yeah, or maybe, you know, you've had a worse time. It's out there. I know it's out there. I've talked to people, but there's nothing as priceless as speaking a truth, whether that's through music or the book or stories being told. There's nothing as priceless as doing that and then watching a light go on in somebody else's face. It's
Right.
everything.
That's why I brought up the new record, the latest record, Hard to Kill, is based on some of those stories.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. The title track, which is called Strong as Steel. Hard to Kill is one of the lines from Strong as Steel. Just like my mama's mama, I'm strong as steel. And yeah, that's a true story. That whole song is a true story. There's one embellishment. There's only one embellishment. The song talks about driving my car off a cliff. I didn't drive the car off the cliff. I fell off the cliff. Alcohol was involved.
There you go.
There you go.
That happens sometimes.
It certainly did to me. So yeah, it's 11 original songs and one cover of a John Hyatt song. The John Hyatt tune is this great song he wrote called "The Last Time."
When I'm done with the interview, I'm gonna play the whole CD right after it.
Great.
How do you like that?
I love that.
So tell me, you work with Kid Ramos and you've worked with R.L. Burnside. Tell me about working with those guys.
Wow. The RL story is short and sweet. I got a phone call from a producer who said, "Are you available to do some background vocals?" And I said, "Sure." "Where do you need me to be?" And he's like, "Da da da, my home studio, Malibu, da 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 da, be here." And I walk in, and my friend Billy Valentine is there from the Valentine Brothers, whom I had worked with a few years before on a musical called It Ain't Nothing But the Blues. And I was in this 10-week run on that musical. And, you know, I didn't even know who the artist was. And then it turned out to be R.L. Burnside. He wasn't there. We simply did background vocals, but it was a huge honor for me because that album was called Wish I Was in Heaven Sitting Down, which turned out to be a very, very popular album.
Great
for RL,
album.
right?
Real
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So Billy and I did background vocals for that, and that was super exciting. And what was the other part of the question?
Kid Ramos.
Oh yeah, Kid. Years. I met Kid way back in the day when he was still with James Harmon Band. And during the time, then he left Harmon. He quit after Fats died. He and Willie J. Campbell, who recently passed, he passed December 18th of 2022. Kid was going to get him and Willie quit at the same time they left the band. It's all very tight, little convoluted sort of circle there. A guy by the name of Jeff Termes took Willie J. Campbell's job playing bass in the James Harmon Band. But I met Kid during that period of time, and the night I met him was at the King, the world famous King that's now like a carpet store or something. Anyway, it was a amazing night. We kind of became friends, and about a year, I got his phone number, and like a year later, I got this gig and I needed a guitar player, and I called him up and I said, "Hey man, you feel like playing some guitar with me? I got a gig. Here's what it pays. We'll do a bunch of swing stuff." And he goes, "Let me talk to Linda," who is now his wife, because he left Harmon's band and got married. And called me back and said, "Yeah, Linda said it's okay." And I was like, "All right,
Okay.
great." And he and Linda showed up, and Linda was all the way out to here pregnant, with their first son. And Anthony is that boy's name. And we started playing together then. And then a few years later, he would call me up and ask me if I wanted to sing on a record of his, because he got a deal with Blacktop Records out of New
Yeah.
Orleans. So, I mean, and it goes from there. It goes from there. We just recorded an album with Willie J. Campbell. And I know that they're shopping it now to try to get figured out where that album is going to come out. And that's a little bit of a cavalcade of the blues stars. Kim Wilson's on it. I'm on it. A kid is on it, and Willie plays bass on it.
Yeah,
It's a really cool
I had
record.
a great
Sugar
interview
Ray
with Kid.
Rayford.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The Sugar Ray Rayford's on it. I mean, it's lots of folks around that record.
Yeah, Kid had a lot to talk about. I had a great interview with him about his whole career, the Dangerous Gentleman period, and the
Oh yeah.
Proven Ones, which he was just in not too long ago with Willie, and
Yeah.
all the things he'd been involved with, all the different bands he'd been part of, and um, all kinds of things. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've traveled all over the world. Where's your favorite
Pretty
place in the
close.
world to play other than the United States?
Well, it's really hard to choose one.
I ask
What comes
everyone, and I get different
Yeah.
answers from everybody.
Okay. So it's hard to choose one. There's many favorite places. I love Norway. I love France. I love Italy. Oh my God. Belgium. Um, Western Europe's been pretty incredible. I had a profound experience in Poland. Really profound experience in Poland. Uh,
You
you know,
played in India, I saw, and you played everywhere, all over the world.
2017, I played in India, and I lived. That was funny because I was one of the headliners on the Mumbai Blues Festival, which was pretty new at that point, and literally had to get off the stage, take a couple of pictures with the promoter, the guy who had the festival, run, grab my suitcase out of the dressing room, run into a taxi, change clothes in the car, and get on a plane to get back to LA for the Grammys. It
Wow.
was nuts. Yeah, it was nuts.
And the Byron Bay Blues Festival, I was looking at all the festivals you've been on.
That was amazing. That was an incredible experience, Byron Bay. Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about when you come here locally. Last time you were at the Bull Run, I
Okay.
think.
Yep.
And Ronnie Earl comes to play with you every so often, I've seen video of it.
There are few guitar players that within a matter of less than 12 bars, certainly, will bring me to tears. And Ronnie is one of them. He just, I don't know what it is. It's just him. It's his relationship with that instrument standing next to me. And I just feel such a deep and abiding connection to him and his music. It's almost as if the river rises and you just want to get in the water. It's like a baptism, you know. It's really incredible. Ronnie is an incredible human being.
Yeah, you're great together when he's here, when he joins
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
So tell me a road story. Tell me one of your favorite road stories.
I'm gonna have to, I've been asked that question before, and it's a beautiful question. And I always draw a blank on this. I don't know why. I guess one of my favorite road stories is getting dressed in the taxi in Mumbai and trying to make the flight, which we did make. Um,
That's a long flight.
that was a long flight, baby. That was a long flight. I was a wreck by the time we landed on the ground. My husband picked me up at the airport, brought me home. I got in the shower, changed clothes, put on a gown, got in an Uber, and went to the Grammys. That was
Wow.
nuts.
Wow.
Um, you know, but my most favorite moments on tour, honestly, are at the merch table. And here's why, because I get to talk to people. I get to hear from them. And they tell me, we it's just not uncommon for some. I There's a thing like my bassist, who's my road manager, and my musical director. It's all in one package. Gary Davenport's been with me for 22, 23 years now. He kind of knows where a lot of bodies are buried, and he um and I have a thing. We'll stand, in case we're wondering. You get exhausted on the road, and you're beat up, and you're tore down, from the fatigue and from the go traveling from hell to breakfast all the time, and there's no sleep and crappy food and the hotel's not what it's supposed to blah, blah. It goes on, and it's exhausting. And there's usually a moment during a tour where he and I will be at the merch table, and we'll look at each other and realize that that's the whole reason we were there in the first place, is because some woman or some guy will come up to the merch table, and they'll say, I want you to know what your music means to me. I want you to know that you helped me through one of the worst times in my life. Your music has helped me. I want you to know that I was in foster care too. I want you to know that I want you to keep trying. I don't want you to stop. Please don't stop. I mean, there's my whole tour life is littered with these moments with people that usually happens at the merch table, um,
And that's
after
how
a show.
they give back to you for everything that you do.
That stuff is priceless to me. That's priceless to me, you know. I have a relationship with a woman who's a single mom. She's got two kids, one of them special needs. And we struck up a friendship years ago based on that. I remember looking out at the merch. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I looked out and it was raining. And I was in a little tiny tent in merch, and everybody else in the line that was at least 45 minutes long were standing in the rain to get their CDs purchased and signed. And and I'd been on social media with this woman, and like, she messaged me and I replied. And people are stunned by that. But I feel that I owe so much. What's the adage, biblical, whatever, to whom much is given, much will be required. Much is required, babe.
But
Much is required, and I owe these.
you've given your life to this music and to the people, and they're giving back to you now.
Gladly.
Did
I'd
you
gladly
did
give
you
them.
ever imagine that that would ever happen when you were starting out? Nope.
Nope. Not in a million years. It's hard to imagine now, but I know that it's true and it happens, and that it's right, and it is with purpose, because I have evidence now.
And you're doing the right thing. It shows you that you've done the right thing all these years, and
Thank you.
you're getting payback for it. People are acknowledging you for all those things you went through, and your music talks to it, all of it, and your memoir does too. That's why.
Yeah, I still don't understand. That's the other thing about the memoir, there's a, why do you write this? Why did you write that? Why did you tell? Why did you tell? Why did you do that? My brothers were very encouraging. They're like, no, 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 you got to tell. Somebody needs to tell what happened to us. Somebody needs to tell the way it was. Somebody needs to tell how broken it is. And putting the book together made a lot of things make much more sense to me. I found at the about 5.5 years, I began to have a sense that I never had before of compassion for myself. Like a,
Yeah, but it was behind you now. You wrote all of that. It was behind you. And now you can do what you need to do to move forward.
and I am, and I do, and I have. I mean, I have so much peace these days. It's like, who gets that? I still walk with a tick sometimes, you know what I mean? And it'll always be, and that's fine. I accept that. But I know that there's purpose in the music and in the book, and that purpose is to help somebody else try to make sense of their lives or of their histories or both. That it really, really, really is that.
And when you sit at the merch table, you see that. You've heard it comes back to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to say about favorite moments during tour, favorite tour stories.
That's a great one though that you just said. That's
But
really
that's it,
good.
man. That's the shizzle, for me.
Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? Still doing this?
I don't know,
Retiring?
man. I don't want to retire. Slow down a little bit. Yeah, that's okay. Uh, I need the music. I desperately need the music still for my own sanity. And I think that possibly I still matter to my fans. I think I do.
You
And
do.
I seem to still matter to the Blues Foundation. And I was hugely relieved and grateful for that, for those nominations, because so much of it's a young woman's game now, you know. I don't want to travel. I don't want to do 250 dates a year. So here's what I'm saying to the listeners. If you see that I'm on the schedule, don't assume that you'll catch me next time. Don't do that.
Well, like
Because
you said, it's not always the young people because look at this year's Grammys.
I know. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was so wonderful to see that. It was
Bonnie
so
Raitt
incredible.
beat
Yep.
all those young girls, and it was like I was like stunned when it happened. It was like what, like you are. You don't. She wasn't expecting it.
Not at all. Not at all. And it was a beautiful, beautiful um moment. And I feel like hope returned in that moment. That's a folk song. You've heard the song. It's a
Yeah,
stunningly gorgeous song.
yeah.
And it's a folk song, and she wrote it. She doesn't write very much. So
So
how
you
about
never
that?
know. You might win more. You never know.
Digits crossed. I would love to. It would really, really be great, folks. Join the Blues Foundation. It's a 501c. It'll cost you $25 for Christ's sake.
I'm a member. I'm a
You
member.
write
It's
it
worth it.
off. Yeah, me too. And then you get to vote for all your faves.
So when are you going to be back in the area? Do you know?
I do just got an offer today from my booking agent for a festival in New Hampshire.
When?
That's as close as I don't know yet. I have to look at the offer. I haven't had a chance to even look at it
It
other
might
than to
be.
say, okay,
It might be the White Mountain because that's the big
no,
one. No.
no, not White Mountain. No, no. Uh, I don't know. I'll have to
Yeah.
stay tuned to janivamagness.com, and because that's where I post all the shows.
So you have JanivaMagness.com. You're on all the Facebook, all that stuff. I take it.
All those
Instagram.
places. Yeah.
How about new music? I know the last album you did last year. Are you working on any new music for a newer record?
The only thing right now that's imminent is the record for Willie J. Campbell that a lot of us are on. So right now, no. My producer just relocated to Portland, which is a fine town, Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine. And so we'll see what comes from that. He still has a place here, so he'll come down. And, I don't know. That's 16 albums, John. 16 albums I have.
I
You think
know.
it's enough?
No, we need more. There's more for
Okay.
you, there's more for you to give to us. You've given us a lot, but there's still more
Mhm.
there, I think.
Thank you. Duly noted, counselor.
And again, thank you for a wonderful week last week. It was fun.
So welcome. You so deserve that, man. It was really beautiful.
And it was beautiful. You were there, and then you introducing Holly, who's done radio here for so long, and I had no idea she was going to introduce me until you introduced her, and it was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, that was a
Something's
little
up.
surprise for you.
That was so much of a surprise.
Yeah.
And then just you being there and giving the award to me and listening to everything we had done all these years. That was important.
I felt like it was very important, and I'm so grateful to have been able to be a part of that.
Me too. So
Yeah, man.
again, I want to say thank you to you for taking all this time out with me, and I look forward to seeing you next time you come to town.
I'll let you know about that, and I'll shoot you an email with the book, so you can download that and give it a listen.
Okay.
And yeah, that's
And
what I
maybe I
know.
can get you in the studio next time you're around the area.
I'd love that. I would love that.
Come in and we can chat or whatever. Like I said, we have a live studio. You could bring your band and play a little bit.
Love to do that too. That would be great.
All right. Well, thanks again.
All right. Then. Thanks so much, man. Stay safe. Stay
You
well.
too.
Let me
I
know
will.
when it hits the airwaves.
I will. It's going to be on Saturday this week,
Oh, great.
4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
John.
Thank you. Have
Yeah.
a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye.
You too.